Hello and good evening to everyone. First of all, thank you for joining us this evening. Uh, Thank you for joining us on this short introduction to the web graphics library with 3JS. First, we will start off with what is WebGL and explore how to use 3JS and render 3D objects and scenes in the web browser.
Yeah, so let's begin. Uh, Hello everyone. I'm Vansh. So I'll just start explaining what. So before starting explaining what WebGL is, let's first look at an example. Okay, so this is a really cool example. Just to get you in the flow of what WebGL is, we'll look at this for a while. So this is basically all of this is basically happening in a browser, so that's like really peculiar. So I'll just move around this website and like show you what it's all about. So you can enable gravity. It's completely made in WebGL. 3js wasn't used for this one. So just kind of see what this is, and you can change lighting as well according to the camera angle, kind of move around with gravity. So let's start explaining what WebGL is. Okay. So WebGL is a JavaScript application programming interface for rendering high performance and interactive 3D and 2D graphics within any compatible browser. So all the modern browsers, mostly every browser supports WebGL. So how WebGL works? So let's see. So every computer device, whether it's you have Windows installed or Mac OS, every computer device has a thing called it's called OpenGL. So it basically Open Graphics Library. And Open Graphics Library basically what it does is it talks to your GPU, like kind of be a connection between these two, and also then working all the 3D softwares or anything 3D you have on your PC. So what WebGL does is it borrows that power for your web browser and renders with the same capability of your GPU on your web browser. So to understand this much deeper, we'll have to understand how it works. So WebGL is often thought of as a 3D API. So like people usually think like let's use WebGL and like I'll get some cool 3D graphics. But in reality, WebGL is just a rasterization engine. It doesn't do anything that much of 3D for you. It's basically you give it some code and it is rasterizing that code. So this term rasterizing, we'll understand this much later in the slides, but let's just keep it in mind. So let's look at this example. So what is happening is let's look at the first image here. So what is happening is that it is drawing some points on your, let's say, canvas. We usually use canvas for printing our results. So it will place some points on your canvas, then draw some lines like these. Let's say these three lines were drawn. So these three lines were drawn to complete a triangle. So why do we make a triangle? Why not squares? Why not circles? I will understand this later. Okay, so it will just so with the help of GPU, it will draw thousands of triangles to make a complete 3D object. Now again, to understand why we use triangles, we'll go a little further. So this again, the idea is to draw many triangles at the right position. So it must be at the right position and with the right colors. So how it does this? How does it position it at the right position and with the right colors? We will understand this later. We use shaders for this. So okay, so let's just move on to the next slide to explain how it does this. So it uses something called shaders. So shaders are basically small bits of programs written in OpenGL, OpenGL shading language. Now remember this, it's GLSL. It's a language very similar to C and C++. I have provided some links to a Google Sheet. I'll just show you. So this Google Sheet has a lot of links where you can go and learn about these particular things. Like for shaders, there's the introduction, and I'll just move on under like explaining how you can use this better. We'll share this slide, I think, in between.
Can you share it on the
Uh,
chat?
yeah, we'll share. Okay, so Anupam, if you can share the sheet right now, so you can look into this much later. Let's just now focus on this. So then again, WebGL runs on a GPU on your computer. As such, you need to provide the code that runs on the GPU, which you will provide through shaders and the GLSL language. So the two functions that I was talking about, so these two functions are the main function. They do most of the work. They are called vertex shader and fragment shader, and they are each written in C++, like the C++ like language GLSL, which is very similar, like I said. So let's understand these two. So we'll look at this example. Let's first understand what vertex shader is. So vertex shader are typically used to place primitives. Now, what are primitives? Primitives are points. Let's say, see here, these are points. This is a single line, and these are whole. Uh, they like lines joined to create a triangle, and the triangle create geometry. So basically, the whole thing vertex shader does is create geometry, and then there are fragment shaders. So fragment shaders are typically used to output the pixel color of these primitives. Now you have to encode fragment shaders. You can't just write like for this first pixel I want green, like for the second pixel I want this color. This is not possible. So that's why we use fragment shaders. So what fragment shader will do is it will just give color to all the pixels that have been rasterized. Now this rasterization process I'll explain in the next slide. And after fragment shader has done its work, then the 3D object will be rendered. And after rendering, you can like put in some lights on it, tweak the shadows that it will create. So let's first understand what this rasterization process is. Okay, so let's look at here. So what is happening here? So there's the vector world that was created by the vector shader. So the vector shader will point these according to these mathematical terms a triangle. And what the okay, so what the rasterization process is doing is just sampling this vector shades on your pixels, like according to pixels on your PC. And then after this rasterization process, the black pixels you see here, then the fragment shader will give it color. So um, so now we'll take a break. Like this was the whole introduction to WebGL. We won't get into it much further. But as I explained, I think we have distributed the link for this. So you can go much deeper into this WebGL. And why we are not getting into WebGL is because we are going to use 3JS. And WebGL is like a bunch of really broad topics. So you really can't understand it in an introduction. But that was sort of what you basically need to remember. You need to remember fragment shaders and vertex shader. Now, if there's any question, you can ask in the chat box, or you can ask here too. Okay. So we should move on to the 3JS part. Okay, so the 3JS part will begin. Okay, so let's start with what 3JS is. So 3JS is a cross-browser JavaScript library, or you can call it API too, because it does the same work that WebGL does, but in a much simpler way. And it is used to create and animate 3D computer graphics to display in a web browser. We'll look how it does this, but let's just remember what it does. And also it works with WebGL as I explained, but you can also make it work with SVG and CSS. We won't learn how you can make it work with these two, but I'll show you an example where this is being used, and it's a really good example. And also, if like SVG and CSS are of course they're 2D, they're not actually rendering anything 3D. So the use case gets quite limited. And also 3JS is like it's one type of a single JavaScript file, and it includes a lot of features like effects, scenes, cameras. So let me explain these terms to you. Okay, so first of all, what is a scene? So a scene is basically it lets you set up what and where is to be. Like get this. Like what has to be there, what has to be rendered, and where it has to be rendered. So scene sets this up for the whole web page, and this is where you will place your objects, your lights and cameras. Uh, Not to get a much better understanding of what lights, cameras, and objects are, we'll get into Blender really soon. But let's just keep going on understanding what these terms are here. So cameras, perspective, and there are two types of cameras basically: perspective and orthographic in 3JS. And they are along with cameras, they are controllers as well. So if anyone of you have played any games like FPS shooter games, first person shooter games, or let's say or any track racing games, so what you will see is that there is a camera but there's also a control. You are using your keys to control uh, where your camera is going. So these two come together. And then lights. So lights are basically used to illuminate objects in the scene. There are very few types of lights in 3JS. We'll look into them as well in the 3JS official docs. And then there are these two. These two are really important. So the first is geometry. So a geometry is a representation of mesh line or point geometry. It basically includes vertex, position, and faces. Now remember this: vertex are basically points, and they are vertex, position, and faces. So position is basically the position of your whole 3D object, and faces are the like your, let's say there are four edges. They combine to make a face. Uh, you will understand this much better in Blender. So we'll get into it really soon. And basically what geometry is doing is providing the vertex shader. Now you remember vertex shader, it is giving it the information it requires. It gives the information it requires to do its work, to make vector objects. Now the next thing is materials. So materials make the appearance of objects. So what that means? So through a material, through a material, a WebGL, it writes shade for everything being rendered. Now shaders are more different than render, but they are written in GLSL, which informs GPU how it exactly works. So get this, like shaders are a little different, but materials gives it the data that it requires to calculate these things. So material is just a collection of the data that our fragment shader requires. So next, I think we will look at the examples later. Now, first look at one 3JS example. So this is the official documentation of 3JS, and to like actually learn 3JS, I think these are the best docs you can go to. And first, before getting in the documentation, we have to first download 3JS. So it's basically a zip file. I already downloaded it here, so I'll just show you what's in it. You can download and then unzip it. We'll get in docs soon. Okay, so I'll just go to my folder on the desktop. Okay, so this is the file we downloaded. It's a pretty big file, 225 MBs for library. But when you actually like work with 3JS, it comes down to really low. Like in the development process, it can be a little big. So let's just look at the library. So this is basically a GitHub repo that I cloned.
Can you
But
please share the link to all these?
yeah. So the links to everything that is being used, it's already here. If you can
Okay,
see
okay.
in the screenshot.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So these are 3JS docs, and to understand 3JS fundamentals, I think this website is really good. We won't get into that, but you can like re-understand these concepts here. So we'll just get in docs here. Yeah, so as I was explaining, this is basically just a GitHub repo. I'll get my VS Code here. Okay. So this is the VS Code. Yeah, I was explaining what this is. So let's get this file. So this is basically a 3JS, the whole 3JS file. It's like a thousands of code. You don't really need to understand the whole code. It's basically a library, that's why. So I'll explain how you can use this. Okay, so we'll look into a first example. Now, before looking at the example, let me show you it in the docs. So the docs are here. Okay, so these are the docs. I just opened it from here, right click and open docs. So the docs explain everything like I'll explain. It's explained in much more details here. So you should get in habit of like reading docs. It's really helpful, I'm telling you. So this docs has explained like how you can create a scene and the installation method for 3JS. So let me explain the first example here. If you can see here, you can see what's this? It's basically a cube, and it's being rotated on X and Y axis. Now, how is this possible? I'll explain. So the first thing you need to do is create your index.html file. It's really simple. Let me just remove this code. In VS Code, there's a shortcut. You can just put an exclamation mark and press enter. It will do the same thing. So I have already done this. Now the next thing you have to do is link your 3JS file. So I copied the 3JS file from the build I showed you there. This is a minified version of that. So the thing, the model I showed you, it was like really long vertically, but this one is really long horizontally. So it's basically just a compressed version of that. Yeah, so we'll first link this file and then link a script file. So this is not the 3JS file. Maybe I should rename this. Yeah, I'll rename this to script so you don't get confused. So this is our script file that we are writing. Okay, so let's see. Okay, my VS Code is doing something weird. Okay, let me just cancel that. Okay, so let's understand this script line by line. Now that we have already imported a 3JS file, so this 3 is already like a 3 object is already declared. We don't need to declare it, but in the next upcoming example, we would have to import this. We usually don't do this like this, but in the upcoming example, I'll explain how we usually do this. So first, we'll set up the scene. As I explained, what a scene is. It will contain everything that you need to render. Then we'll call a function perspective camera. It will just create a new perspective camera for us. And now look at these values. Like you won't get what these values are from here. So I'll go to the docs. Let me open the docs here as well. 3JS docs. You can just simply Google that and open it. Okay, so let's search here. Perspective camera. Okay. And I'll show you the cameras that have been explained. There's orthographic camera and perspective camera. There's some other cameras as well, cube camera and sphere camera, but usually you most probably will use these two. But you can read about them as well. So what the perspective camera is getting in the values that I explained here. So it's basically calling a function, and these are the parameters. So let's look at the first one. Okay, so the first one is field of view. Let me just explain what field of view is. So, so if you guys would have like read in your 10th bio, I think the field of view basically just tells like how far should the thing get blurred. So if I put something, let's say, so this is basically a unit, 75 unit. So if I put anything beyond 75 units, it will get blurred or it won't show up in your canvas. So we are just setting up the field of view, basically. And also in 3JS, there are units. Like I'm not writing anything centimeter or meter. We are not using that kind of unit. In 3ds, it was called units. It's not like very much. Um, it's not like very definite. So units can be anything basically. Okay. So the second thing is our aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio will first pass the width. This width always goes first. So this is, we are basically just calling a window and asking it for our inner width. So the inner width is, I'll show you what inner width is. Okay. So the distance from here to here, this is inner width. It's really simple. It's just the width and height of a browser. So I explained this as width, it's height, and this is width. Okay. Okay. So the second, the other two parameters. So these are near and so these are camera frustum near plane and far frustum far plane. So this is a little complicated. So I'll try to explain it simply. So what it basically does is, let's say let's say I have a camera here. Let's call this a camera, and I set the first value 0.1. I set the first value 0.1 here, and then the second value 1000. Let's say it's 1000 is here. So anything between this will be visible, but anything that goes beyond this won't be visible. Like you will be thinking like, then what was this 75? So let's say 75 is here. So anything that goes beyond 75 will be blurred, but it will still be kind of visible. Like it will be like the other small pixels, but it theoretically it's still visible. So we are just setting up. A near and far plane. So we usually set it to 0.1, but let's see what happens if I set it to like 1000. Like I change it to 1000, and then change this one to 10,000. Okay. So the result won't be visible. Okay. So let's refresh it. So you can see nothing here because the camera is neglecting anything between 0 and 1000. So we'll have to take this back to 0.1, and this should be 1000 or 100 should be enough for this. Okay. So let's go to the next line. So this is really important part. Everything we learned about WebGL, we are using here. So what's a renderer? Like I explained, you can use SVG and CSS as well for rendering your 3JS, but we are using WebGL renderer here. So you need to define what you are using. So we'll just define render here, and everything that's happening in this canvas, this is a canvas. So that will be through renderer. Renderer will be called to update it or to add anything, add any scene to it. Okay, so we are just setting the size for render. So remember this, the size for your camera and your render should be always equal. If not, so the result will get pretty weird. Okay, so next what we are doing here. So what you will usually do is add a canvas tag here, but we are not doing that here. So why? When we use a canvas tag, it is basically like you can add other HTML elements to it, like on top of it. It's basically just a canvas. But when you append a child here, basically add a canvas element to the body tag. So take the document, then the body tag, and append a child. Our render.dom element is always canvas. So this is defined to canvas. So it will basically just add the canvas there. So I think it's pretty clear. You'll understand this much better in the next example. So what is a box? We'll create a box. So we are basically creating a mesh here, like I explained there. So like I explained, geometry and material, what are these both? So geometry will define what are the dimensions of this. If I change this to 10, and then the other two are 1, see what will happen. The x-axis got really big. So this is basically just explaining how what are the dimensions of a box. Let's try this value. So it's a rectangle now, kind of. So let's keep it at 1. Equally, it's basically a cube. And then add material. So what's material? So the materials can be really tricky. But for this is a really simple example. So we'll just give a green color, or you can change it to red or any color you want for this really basic example. So it'll just change to red. Okay. So we defined a geometry, we defined a material. Now we'll add these two to create a mesh. Now, basically just calling the 3.mesh function and passing the parameters required. Now this is a really important part. If you don't do this, the cube won't be added. There will be nothing here. So you need to add your cube to the scene, and then let's skip the animation part for now. I'll just copy this and skip this. The camera position is not really that important too. Okay. So I added this to the scene. Now scene has a cube. It has a camera. I don't think we added light here. We don't need light here. Light will be used in a later example. So we added a camera and cube to the scene. We'll pass the scene here and pass the camera here. Now there'll be just a square here. There should be just a square here. Okay, I guess something went wrong. We added cube and called the render function. I think something is going wrong. Okay, I'll just remove this part and explain here. I guess the camera position wasn't set. Okay. Yeah. So I'll set the camera position. So I think we didn't set the camera's position anywhere. So let's just look at the camera, what happened there. So we called the camera, but its position wasn't set anywhere. So I think that you need to position the camera each time. So we should move this code here so we don't get confused. Okay, now you'll see a square. It's basically a cube, but you are looking it from a direction that it looks like a square. So let's rotate this box. Okay, so how will we rotate this? So we'll call cube dot position or rotation. Position changes its x and y axis. Let's change position as well. So we'll set it to now what do we want? Let's set it to move one unit in x axis, then move 2 units in y-axis, and okay, let's say 3 units in z-axis. So the z-axis will make it smaller, and these two will move it just on the x and y-axis. So it got out of frame here. So you basically get the point. And you can change rotation and other stuff from it too. Now let's look at the animation. Okay, so what is the animation function doing here? Basically, to animate this cube, we need to call the animate function. And what the animate function will do is it's basically a recursion function. So you need to start the recursion function, and then the animate function will be called. It will add rotation to cube. Now the rotation, the new rotation has been set. So the render needs to render the scene again. So, but if I remove this part and if I just write animate here, if I save this, my laptop might get crashed because it'll just keep on rendering, but we don't want that. So we won't do this here. Instead, we'll call this function. So what this function will do is it will basically check how much pressure can my laptop handle basically. So if it can handle 30 frames per second, so it will call this function 30 times in 1 second. And if it can handle 60, so some really good laptops can handle 60 frames per second. So it will call this function 60 times. It's basically just this. We have to pass animate function. And that's pretty much it. That's just how you make a box. Okay, so before moving on to the next example, we'll jump into Blender. Now, to get into Blender really well, to understand Blender really well, it takes a large amount of time. But let's not. I was just playing around with that example. Okay, so don't say that. Okay, start Blender again. Okay, so we'll start with the cube. So a general basically means a 3D object. You can do 2D animations in this as well. So it gives you a point light. So let's see what this is. This is a pointer light. There are 4 kinds of light in Blender, I believe. So you can see the lights there. There's point light, there's sun, there's spot and area. So these lights are kind of very similar to the lights you will see in 3GS. So if you understand it here, I think it will be really easy to understand 3GS. So this light will just give the light, and let's see what this camera is. So this camera is placed in this position. Like what will happen if I toggle to camera? So this is basically what we are seeing in the canvas. If I scale this down, let's say, this is basically what we were seeing a minute ago. So I think you kind of get how these two are really connected. So let's start creating something in Blender. I'll just delete the base cube. And let's think of what we want to create. Let's create an abstract cube. Okay, so we'll first delete these two. We don't really need light and camera in Blender. We'll add it to a code later. And let's add a cube, and we'll try to rotate it, kind of. And so how I rotated it, basically there are these functions. To move it, you'll use the move tool. I'm basically using shortcuts on my laptop. You can do that as well. But let's use this for now. And there's this rotate function. So you can rotate from here. Okay, so I think let's move it to the center here. Okay, this is pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just set it up here. And when we export, it will look great. Okay. So let's add some more cubes to this. Okay, so I'll add one more cube, and let's scale this down. So how will we scale this down? Use this scale function. Now this will scale it like according to the Z, Y, and X axis. If I press X, okay, so if I take this function and if I use this red line, it'll look according to X. This is Y, this is Z. But we don't want that. We want it to scale down accordingly, like equally. So we'll just press S on a keyboard, scale this down, and then press G to move it up. Okay, so let's move this up. Okay, so we'll try to create something abstract, like in some art museums. Okay, so now, no, this doesn't look good. Okay, so let's rotate it very similar to previous cube. I'll rotate this. Okay, it's rotated here. Now let's place it somewhere here. I don't know. This is art. Okay, so this is very basic introduction to. We'll end the end creating objects here. Now let me show you what how vertices work in Blender. Now you see these dots here, like I explained. Okay, so I'll make this transparent. So I press Alt plus Z to make the cube transparent. So this is basically a wireframe mode. So what is happening here is these are vertices, these are edges. So two vertices create an edge, and this is a whole face. So these are whole faces. So I selected this face, I selected this face, I selected this face. I can delete them as well. So let's delete these faces. Now they are deleted. Okay, but we don't want that right now. So you basically get the idea, like how I explained the vector shader. So how the vector shader works, it basically does the same thing but for your web browser. Now let's understand fragment shader. So to understand fragment shader, we'll use materials in Blender. So we'll go here, give this cube. Okay, I'll make it not transparent. We'll give this cube a new material. So we'll click on new, and this should add. Okay, no, I did the wrong thing. We have to go here in the material properties. We'll add a new material. So the default material is Principal PSTF, and 3ds basically uses this too. You can't use much of the materials provided here, but with some extension, I guess you can. So let's change the base color here. So what do we want the cube to be? Now you can't see the changes there. Now why is that? there are four kind of viewports in Blender. There's shading viewport. It basically just shows the lines. This viewport, and this one. This is basically material preview. You can see the blue color here. Let's change it to something darker and much dense, I think. Yeah, this looks good. And we can change a lot of things here. Like we can make this metallic, not too much. Yeah, this much is enough. We can reduce the roughness. So the more roughness we reduce, the more glossy it will get. So you can see the reflections, I think. So if I increase the roughness, it will get more rough and no reflections will be visible. Low. So let's keep the roughness really low. So there are a lot of settings here that you can tweak around. You can add emission to it. So emission is really cool. So what emission does is it makes it work like an light. So the cube will emit light. So you can work with this as well. It's really cool. So let's leave this here, and we'll add another material to this as well. So we'll give this principal BSDF again. Let's make it something like gold. Okay, so this color is pretty close to gold, but it looks nothing like actual gold. So let's increase the metallic surface to the max. Okay, it's still not very much like gold, so we will reduce the roughness. Now it's getting there. Let's keep it 0. Oh, so we can't keep it 0 because that's not possible. Even gold has some roughness. Okay, so I think this is pretty good. Now you all must be thinking, like, how will we like get this into 3JS now? It's in Blender. It's saved as a Blender file also. So if I press save, I go to this, and if I write abstract cube, let's say, it'll save it as a Blender file. Okay, I'll show in the here. Yeah. So this is a 3D object one. I think it got saved. Where did I save it? Save as. Yeah, I think it got saved as Untitled Blender.
Once
Yeah.
someone has a doubt in the chat box.
Okay, I'll see. Yeah. Okay, so Harsh, please slow down a bit. I'm trying to cope up. Okay, join on discussion. Okay, yeah, I'll slow down with the Blender.
Yeah.
I think it's really yeah, I know it's like really a lot to take in one session. But I'll try to guide you through how you can learn it much better. So as I provided in the Google Sheet, I think it's in the chat now. So you can go here, and there's a Blender's beginner tutorial. Now this is the same tutorial that I learned Blender from. It's I'll say it's actually one of the best tutorials you can learn from tutorials. So this by Blender Guru. He starts from like modeling, and then explains each part of Blender like really specifically, and then you'll start with this and just keep going, and you'll basically start learning how to create a donut, and then how to make a cup of tea in Blender. And there's not that many videos, so you can probably complete this in 4 days, I think. So so to get a lot better in Blender, you should watch this. I'll try to slow down. I'll try to explain the Blender a lot better. Okay, so where were we? Yes, so what we learned so far. So basically, let's go to material preview. This is basically just a cube. We can see that it's made up of vertices, edges, and faces. So that's pretty clear, I think. Then we added a material to both of them. A material. So it's really simple to add a material. Just go here and then click on the add button. I can add one more material, but we don't want that. Now Blender is just this much. We'll keep this to this much. You can learn a lot later. I'll try to show you one more thing. So So you can see here like render engine. So WebGL is also a render engine. It does a lot of stuff very similar to these three render engines. These are the default render engines in Blender. We are using Eevee right now. So if I go here, I don't think you will see anything. So why did everything turn black? Because there's no light. So it's very same in Blender. I'll show you this. So if you don't add any light, there won't be anything. So let's just keep it really simple. Add a point light. Point lights are really simple. Okay. So you can kind of see a little bit of reflection, like in the gold part, but you can't see the whole object. So why is that? So let's go to light settings. So what is happening here? So this light is emitting only 10 watts of power, but I think our cube is really big in units, so we'll have to increase its power. So it's really simple. We'll just increase the intensity, and then everything will be visible. So let's go to light settings. Increase the power to, let's say, 1000. Okay, a lot more is visible. A lot more is visible. Let's do 10,000. Okay, I think I did 100,000. Okay, so we'll keep this a little up. Okay, I think it's much better visible. But there's one more thing. Why aren't the surfaces reflecting like they did before? So it's because we are using Eevee. So you can kind of put Eevee in a level 1 renderer and put WebGL in a level 2. Now the level 3 renderer is cycles. So this is like actually the one of the best renders. I don't think my PC can handle it very well. So we'll should get out of here. Okay, so we'll just go back to material preview. We don't need to get into rendering in Blender for now. You can get into much later. Okay, so now what we want? We made the abstract cube. Now we want to import it in a, a in a 3JS file. So we have to export it from here. Now, how will we export? So I forgot to explain. So 3JS uses two types of files basically to import any import any external import any external 3D files or 3D images. So these two files are GLB and GLTF. So remember this pretty well. So GLB and GLTF, it's very similar to it. Like I think the name came from WebGL. So what's the difference between GLB and GLTF? It's really simple. GLTF uh, is pretty readable. It's written in JSON. So I don't know if much of you know about what JSON is. So let's say it's readable code, and what GLB is, it's binary. So it's pretty clear. Like binary will take a lot less space than GLTF. So it's basically just that. So for now, we'll export it in GLTF. You'll see here, there should be, yeah. So there's the GLTF export button. We'll export GLTF embedded. You can learn about like these two a lot more. I have added links to 3JS courses as well. But for now, let's keep it to GLTF, and let's save this on a desktop. Save it to a fifth session. Okay. In the model file, let's call this abstract cube. Okay, pretty good. Let's export it. Okay, I think it's exporting now. It's done. We have exported the file. We don't need to save it again. So we'll go here in the models. So I added another GLTF file of a Cybertruck. We'll show this later. Let's look at this abstract cube. Now, before getting into 3JS again, let's check if this worked. Let's see if our exporting of this file worked. So we'll go to GLTF viewer. Viewer. Okay. So this of properties here, but we won't add that many properties. Just don't get your hopes up. In our file, it will look a lot less better, but we'll try to make it look really good. And also, we can get a sneak into Cybertruck as well. I basically downloaded this from the internet. I'll share a link where you can get these free models. I'll show you it. I'll show it to you right now. Okay. So this is the website GLTF sample models. There's a whole library of models there. You can like get into a lot of these. And there's a website that I think services downloading these as well. You can see in the description here. I think it's somewhere. Yeah, it's here. This is the market. You can basically just go to this website. You don't need actually Blender to work with 3Js. You can go and download GLTF files from here. There are thousands of files, I think. There are animated files as well. We are not getting into these kind of animations today. So you can basically download files from there. Now let's get back to our code. Okay. So I imported a model in this file. So I explained, you can read GLTF. It's basically written JSON code. There are a lot of numbers. There are materials. Materials have a lot of values. You can't write this code on your own. So to create a GLTF file, you need a software like Blender. There are a lot other software as well. So let's keep that aside and get into our HTML. Now, what's the difference in this HTML? We added the canvas on and the 3JS file. But where's the 3JS model file? Like where we'll get the 3JS library code from? This is my file. Like this code we'll get into. But the code is coming from here. We are now importing code. We are now importing the 3JS object. We are importing this object GLTF loader. I'll explain what all of these are in a moment. Okay, so let's understand how I got these models from. So I'm using the import function, and these files are, let's see, these files are coming from /, that means here /3js master, and then the build folder, and then 3js module.js. Now we are using modules now, and the same. Now what GLTF loader is, I'll explain in a minute, and what object controls are. Let's pause it here. Okay. Now index file is clear. Now let's first move on to our GLTF loader. Or like if you guys know HTML before, you may know how we use this use this function to get the element from a document. But I'll explain it again. So we are basically using a constant to define a canvas element that we'll use and getting the element by ID. Now remember, we gave an ID of WebGL here. I'll increase the font size. Okay. So we gave WebGL ID to that element, and we are just getting it here. Now we have to set up our scene. It's the same thing. We imported 3JS. Now set up the scene very similar to the one we did last time. And then we need to call a GLTF loader class. So we made just a new object GLTF, and it's really simple. Like I'll explain later. You don't need this much code. This is actually to like get into much more into what's happening. So let's see first here. So this should show the parameters. Like you can see the parameters up there. So the number one is URL. URL means your uniform resource locator. So where's your resource? Where's the GLTF file we just exported? So it's here. We'll just copy its name. So you don't need to add // here. If you add // it will create an error because it's a URL. It's not SRC. So these are just some errors you may run into if you are coding it on your own. If there's any problem, you can get in contact with us, or maybe I'll share my contact number. you can ask if there's any problem while coding. Okay, so what's the next step? So now we told the gltf load function where our gltf file is. Now what will happen next? Now this is a callback function. Now callback function are little tricky. So what it is doing here is, after our model has been loaded, so it could be a really big file. Let's say it's a 3 MB file. It will take a little more time to load. So we'll call a callback function after this model has been loaded. The callback function will be called, and what it does is it just creates a root element. I don't know why I call this a root, but what it basically does is it takes the gltf gltf file, and it's seen. So let me explain this better. I'll just console.log basically get the gltf object in a console. I'll open this with the live server. Okay, no, I have to open the HTML file with live server. Okay, so this is being loaded. The object you cannot see the object for right now. I'll explain later why. So this is our gltf file. I'll make it bigger. So I console log the gltf object. What's happening here? So the first thing is animations. So if I animated it in Blender, the animations will be stored in this array. In this auto update, this background, cast shadows, a lot of other stuff. We need to focus on the scene. So where's the scene object? Yeah, no, I console log scene, I think. Okay, gltf. Okay, so it automatically console log scene because I think there's not any other value in the object. So we just basically need to assign this scene to our scene that already exists. So why is this called scene? Like, why is this called an object or something like that? Because gltf consists of like other stuff too. You can export camera and lighting from Blender as well, but we don't do that because animating that would be really hectic. So we just need the object from there. Now again, the function, we added this root file to our scene, and let's not get into this code for now. Let's keep it here. I'll explain a little later maybe. Then again, I made a object for sizes. Again, we did in the last example. Okay, so I'm basically defining the sizes, width to inner width and height to window dot inner height, and then we'll add the camera. It's the same thing we did in the last example. The position is a little different, I think, so it's okay. Now we are adding directional light. Now the intensity of this light is 5. Like I should explain it from the docs. So let's go to the docs. Let's search for, let's not even search. I'll look it from here. Okay, where are lights? Okay, here are the lights. There are a lot of lights: ambient light, directional light, hemisphere light. We mostly use hemisphere and ambient light, I think. Okay, so let's understand hemisphere light. So what hemisphere light takes is, the first value is the color. What do you want the color of the light to be? I think we kept it white here. Again, I wrote it in hex code. You can just keep it in strings as well. This will work too. Okay, so it's white. And then the second parameter is the intensity. Okay, you can do multiple colors as well. So the last parameter is, I think, intensity. Now the intensity is 5 here. Now if you remember what we did in Blender, the intensity was 10 in the beginning, I think. So that's why you most probably won't see anything in the render, because the light is not that strong. We'll make it a lot more stronger later. Let's jump further. Now this is orbit controls. So if you remember how I control Blender, like I'll open Blender again. Like when we rendered the first file, that was the cube, we couldn't move around. Like like this, how I move around in Blender. That wasn't possible in that. So to make that possible, 3ds has something called orbit control. Basically, what I'm doing here, I'm just using my mouse's middle button and scrolling around to move here. Now I'll press shift and then go down. If I need to go down like this. So Blender is actually free. You can just Google search and install it. It's really simple. Or if you can't get it, you can you can contact me too if it's getting a little hectic to download, or your PC's like not is throwing some error or something. And also Blender can run in any laptop. Like even if you have a RAM of 2 GB, I've seen people make a lot of great stuff in 2 GB RAM laptops. So that doesn't matter. Blender can run in any laptop, any device. Okay, so let's close this. I won't save it. Okay, so we are defining orbit controls. So I imported these two files from here. I should show you. Okay, so this was the repository. We went to examples. I don't know why this file is this folder is called examples, but it basically consists of all the tools you require to work with 3JS. So I imported from the JSM folder camera. You can import cameras to their cinematic camera. I imported controls. I imported orbit controls. Their fly control is really cool. You can learn how to use it too. I think it is used for like some air traveling games or something. I'll show you some games in 3JS as well. So in the last part of the seminar, we'll look at some great examples. So I'll show you that later. And for now, we are just importing loaders. A loader like we imported. Where are the loaders? Yeah. So there are GLTF loaders. There are a bunch of different loaders as well. We mostly use just GLTF, and there are a lot of things you can like. It's a long journey. You can learn all of this later. Okay, so let's get back where we were. So what orbit control is doing, we need to pass it two things. First, a camera. It's really simple. You have to pass it camera, because what orbit control is doing is it is moving your camera according to the movement of like how you are moving your mouse, how you are controlling the canvas, and also the canvas element to get which canvas you are using. Why we are passing canvases, because sometimes you can use multiple canvases in your website. So it's just of that reason. We set it its position. I think this is the initial position of the orbit control, and then we need to call the update function. Now why we do all of why did we like write these 3 lines of code? You can learn about each of them in really details from the docs. The docs are really good actually. If you still don't get from the docs, you can watch videos. They are ton of Medium articles. So just try googling stuff. So I think they would have explained why we did that stuff. So basically it's written here. So it's required if controls dot enable damping or controls dot auto rotate are set to true. So we didn't set these two things to true, but I think they are defaultly set to true. If we set these to false, we don't need to call this function. So basically, if we change anything to our control settings, we need to update it. That's basically it. Your control has been added. Okay, so this is again the stuff we already did. Now we are again defining a renderer, but what's the difference? We are passing the canvas on. Let's see what we did in the last example and compare these two. Okay, so this was the file, I think. Okay, so I opened the wrong file. Okay, so this is the current file and this is the last file. Okay, I'll open it side by side. So how we set it render then was we called the WebGL render function and then appended the DOM element. But now we are appending the DOM element on our own. We are not calling this function to create a new child. creating a new chat basically means adding a new tag to a HTML. So what we did here is assign the canvas element uh, to our WebGL render, basically tell it which canvas we are using, and then basically you don't need to understand this right now. We'll just remove it. Basically what it is doing is enabling shadows. I added this on my own. I think we don't need to add this. And let's not keep a plane as well. Let's just see what has happened till now. Okay, so we'll get back, and console.log we don't need as well. Okay, so what's happening here? We need to go the 5. Okay, so what you can see here, basically just the same thing that was happening in Blender. You get it? The intensity of the light is really low, and so therefore you can't see the cube really clearly. I think you should increase your laptop's brightness to get what is happening now. If now you get what we need to fix, we need to increase the density of the light. Before we do that, let's see if anyone has any questions till now. So if you have any questions, you can ask, turn on your mic and ask them too. Okay, so if you could, John models on Blender. Okay, yeah. So if anyone has any doubts, you can ask. Okay, I guess not. Okay, so move further. We'll just improve the density of a light. Let's move it to 5,000 and save it. Okay, so you can see the cube really well now. Let's add one more light. Okay, so we'll call this light 1, and basically doing the same things, and keep the position a little different, I think. Okay, so save this. Cube is much better visible now. It's looking different from what it did in Blender. That's just because of WebGL. It doesn't render everything that well. Okay, so let's get back to this. So this is basically a simple plane we added. We called the mesh form material. Now it's getting a little too complicated. So you can read the docs and understand what's happening here too. But what we are doing is basically adding a new mesh for a plane and just placing it and rotating it so it looks like a plane. So we'll just add a plane like it did in Blender. Okay, so we'll end the coding part here. And if there's any questions, you can ask in the chat box too. Okay, so in the last part, let's look at some 3JS examples. Okay, can we get the code file and model so that we could go through the entire process? Yeah, so I didn't upload the code to any GitHub repo for now. But what you can do is I'll add the code to the same file we shared, the goal sheet we shared. I'll add a link to the GitHub repo after I upload the code there. And you can see it like maybe tomorrow. I'll upload it by tomorrow and you can just check it out. Now let's look at some 3JS examples. Now I collected some great examples here. Okay, so let's look at this first one. Yeah, this one is a great example. You can just see like how far you can get into 3JS. You can see like I think this should be okay. No, it's not visible in Replizer. So basically, you can scroll, and there's animations happening. The textures are changing. A lot of things are happening. So this is basically water, and this is like you can learn this really fast too if you are really interested in this. Let's look at another example. Okay, so it's loading. Yeah, the spreadsheet is shared in the chat box. You can open it from there. And let's look at this final example. I think we'll look at one more later. Okay, so enter. So this is one of my favorite examples. You'll just get blown away what happens next. So if I scroll, the gradient turns into, okay, let me turn off the music. It has music as well. So it is basically a human model. You can download the model from other websites too, and just the textures and lighting are playing the major role here. You can get into this example as well. I'll share a link. We can find these examples. Okay, so let's escape from this here now, and let's look at a final example, I think. Okay, yeah, so this is the example I was talking about. So you can see 3JS is being used here, but WebGL is not being used here. All of this is SVG animation. You can see gravity playing around. To apply gravity, there's a different library. You can learn about that on your own. So basically, it's the same thing. These are SVG renders with gravity and more other application or other functions applied to it. This example is really good as well. So you can get into more examples on this website. I'll share the link. It's basically internet, basically best websites awards. There are a lot of websites here. You can get into looking at them here as well. Okay. So I guess this is the end of our session. So you can explore further. Like the links have been shared. Just explore on your own. Watch videos. Like you will get into really good 3Js and like learn a lot. Okay, so Anupam, you can end the session now. Okay, so Anupam will tell you a little more about ILSA and what we do here. Okay, so I think Anupam is not available here. Okay, yeah. So this session has also been recorded. You can watch it on YouTube. And so thank you for being here. It was a really great session. If you enjoyed it, you can write in the chat box. And you can follow us on these pages. You can scan the links or like follow us on Instagram. And we are recruiting really soon as well. So you can look into it. We'll post about it on Instagram. You can follow us there. And that's it. Thank you everyone for joining.